I would like to share my own personal experience about forced marriage and the effects that it has on people physically and emotionally. My story started when my father fell ill and was in intensive care for over 6 months. I was always a very independent girl and was very outgoing. A lot of my community frowned upon the fact that I would go out and socialise. When my father fell ill, an extended relative brought a proposal for me to marry a man who came to the UK to study. The man was an extended relative who I thought was nice but turned out to be the devil. I was emotionally pressured to marry him, using my father's illness as an excuse and being told that no one would marry me as I was too Western. I never got the opportunity to see my now ex-husband before the marriage. I initially saw an old photograph of him where he looked young, but in reality this was far from the truth. 7 months after agreeing to the marriage, I saw him on our engagement, and I was devastated to say the least. This was not the man I envisaged to spend my life with. He looked in his late 30s whilst I was only just turning 20. He wasn't my type at all. I was heartbroken as I felt like all my dreams had been shattered. The husband I had imagined was not the guy I was going to marry. It was too late to say no. I was told him and his family had already waited for 7 months and declined other potential proposals for me. Many times I told my family I was not happy with this marriage, but I kept getting told the community will say things if I break the engagement off. I continued to arrange the wedding, as it preoccupied my mind from the fact that I was marrying a man I did not like and was not attracted to. Finally, the wedding day came, and it was the saddest day of my life. I cried throughout what should have been the best day of my life. I looked at my husband-to-be and cried. I did not cry because I was leaving my family, but cried because of the man I was leaving with. The journey to my in-laws felt like a journey to my death. I wished the ground would open up and take me in, but I knew it was too late, and I was now married. My ex-husband said he would not touch me, and we would allow time, as I had not been physical with anyone before. He also reminded me that I would need to get a job soon and make him legal. I was shocked that he would mention this on our wedding night, and I felt like he only married me for a visa. After our brief conversation, I fell asleep, physically and emotionally drained. But in the early hours of the morning following the wedding ceremony, I felt someone trying to touch me. I was in deep sleep and barely could open my eyes, but when I did, I was alarmed to see him forcing himself upon me. I begged and pleaded him not to, as I had no experience and I was scared, but he strictly said he is a man and he has needs. He then continued to yell at me, saying he can't stop himself and I should understand what his needs are. He continued his behaviour and eventually raped me. The next number of months were a blur. I lived for other people, making others happy, but deep inside I felt abandoned and unhappy. He was continuously getting physical with me without my consent. I had two sides. I would show a happy side to my family, but behind closed doors there was a different story. He would regularly use bad language against me and continue to remind me that he married me just to be legal. He wanted me to love him, but I knew I could never love someone like him, someone that was not my choice. There were times I attempted suicide, as I thought death was an easier way out, but would then be afraid of the consequences. Eventually I did pluck up the courage to leave, after 3.5 years, with just my handbag. I feared if he knew, I would not make it alive. Finally, I was back in my hometown, and I filed for divorce the next day. I was granted an application immediately due to the nature of my divorce and the allegations against him. I was officially divorced after a year, but within that time I had more hardships to face, both in society and in my family. No one was happy with my decision and would constantly talk ill of me. Something that should have made me happy was making me sad because I couldn't live freely. I wasn't allowed to go out at certain times because people would think I was not a decent girl and that my husband had left me. Society made it so difficult, including my own people. I felt like I couldn't live my life, so I rebelled and would do things my way. A couple of years later, pressure was on me once more to remarry to someone from back home, and again I was being forced to see people. This time, I resisted. I was in a dark place and thought there was no light under the tunnel, but I kept my faith. It was that faith that led me to the amazing human being who I now call my husband. I never knew anyone could love me the way he loved me. For the first time in my life, someone cared and someone made me happy. I was lucky enough to survive the hardship and come out with a positive outlook, but not everyone is lucky enough to walk away.